learn about chain rule in this video. We can start with a question. If y equals 3x squared minus 5 to the power 2, find dy on dx. With your current knowledge, you can do this one by expanding this equation, because this is of the form a minus b the whole square, and you know how to expand that expression, and then you can differentiate it term by term. This is a quite reasonable approach for this question. But how about this one? If y equals 3x squared minus 5 to the power 20, or even with power 5, it's really hard. So because the expansion becomes harder and harder when the power grows bigger. So we need some other technique to find the derivatives quite fast. And that's the one we're going to learn in here, the chain rule. In chain rule, we're going to take, if y equals 3x squared minus 5 to the power 20, we're going to, so y is a function of x, so we can say this is a h of x. And then we're going to take 3x squared minus 5 as g of x. Okay, so that means g of x to the power 20, so that's function of g of x. Okay, f of g of x, where g of x is 3x squared, where g of x equals 3x squared minus 5. So the function of this form, f of g of x, is known as composite function. And for any composite function of this form, we can find the derivative of h, or h dash x. The derivative of h equals f dash g of x. You take the derivative of the function about gx times the derivative of gx itself. This is one way of writing this equation, this chain rule. And using Leibniz notation, so what we do is we make another substitution in here. We calling as u is g of x and h of x is y. So you can say y is then f of u. And then using Leibniz notation, you can say this is dy on dx. This is same as writing as h dash x. If you remember, dy on dx equals f dash of x. So that's a similar notation. So dy on dx equals f dash of g of x. That's the first term in here, and that's a derivative of the function about gx. And gx is u in here, so that's something that's dy on du here, and times the derivative of u with respect to x. Okay, so these are the two different ways of doing this one inside. So basically what we do in here is we're taking the derivative of the outside function, that's to the power 20, the power function, that's dy on du or f dash of g of x, and then we take the derivative of g, the inside function. So this is the basic method that we follow in chain rule. Okay, so let's do this example in detail using the chain rule. Let's use this equation, the dy on dx equals dy on du times du on dx. And so for that one, so we have u is g of x, that's this function. So u equals 3x squared minus 5. And so your y is then 3x squared minus 5 is now taken as u to the power 20. And all we have to do is you find dy on du, and we do du on dx and multiply them together in this equation. So to do this derivative to find this derivative dy on du, we need another rule which we have learned before, that's power rule in differentiation, and that is nx to the power n minus 1. So the only thing is x is replaced with u in here. Okay, so let's use that equation. That's a n is 20 and the x is u in here, because we're taking the derivative with respect to u as well. U to the power 20 minus 1 is 19. Okay, and now you can find du on dx. When you do that, remember to use this equation. Okay, and the du on dx, which is d on dx of 3x square minus 5. Again, we need to use the power rule, and also the constant term. When the constant term is involved, you know how to deal with that as well. So we have covered all these things in the properties of derivatives. So please check it out if this doesn't make sense to you. So to take the derivative of this one, so you take the derivative of the first function. For that one, the constant times the derivative of the power function, which is 2x. And the derivative of a constant term is actually 0. So it's minus 0, or that's 6x. Okay, and now we're going to substitute back in here. So dy on du is 20 u to the power 19. So when you write this one in here, don't leave u, because u is something you defined. The question originally didn't have that, so you need to substitute back this function which we had in the question, 3x square minus 5 to the power 19 times 6x. Or this is 20 times 6 is 120x times 3x square minus 5 to the power 90. Questions, so you can use this chain rule in a variety of questions. Okay, so I'll ask you to do as many examples as you can before you learn the further topics in differentiation.